So I will have to do military for 2 years.
2 years.
And based on what I heard, we will have very little free time, and we will more often be staying at the military base instead of home.
I see.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to the Easy English Interviews Podcast Season 2. My name is Chris Kent. I'm an associate professor of English as a second language in Japan. This podcast has been created to give English students some easy and interesting listening practice. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next interview. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2. For today's podcast, I would like to focus on two things. The first thing is the use of future tense. In Japanese, this is called miraike or mirai katachi. Future tense often uses the word will before the verb. For example, I will go to school tomorrow. During today's podcast, please listen to how the future tense is used. Particularly, listen to how Brian describes his life after he returns to Singapore. The second thing I would like to focus on is the use of special phrases at the beginning of statements to tell the listener that you are telling them something true. These phrases that are found in today's podcast are truthfully speaking, to be honest, and technically speaking. All three of these phrases will tell the listener that you are about to say some important truth about the topic. So please try to listen for when one of the speakers uses these phrases. At the end of today's podcast, as usual for Season 2, listen to the comprehension questions and feel free to try to answer the questions in real time if you can. If you need to, write down the questions first and then listen again to practice answering. 今日のポッドキャストの最後に理解度に関する質問を読み上げます。それを書き留めてからポッドキャストを繰り返し聞いて、私が質問するときにリアルタイムで答えを言ってみてください。Okay, let's get to Season 2, Episode 2. Okay, well today I have another very special guest, and his name is Brian. And Brian, can you tell me where you are from?
I'm from Singapore.
So you're from Singapore, but obviously we're here in Japan. So can you tell me why did you come to Japan?
I'm here in Japan for an internship program, which is essentially work. So I'm technically coming to Japan for the job. So in this case, however, in Japan, I think they label us as students, researchers.
Student researchers.
Yeah, so in a sense, if you put them together, I'm technically here just to research and help out the professor that I'm under.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And what school do you go to in Singapore, and what are you studying there?
In Singapore, I'm currently enrolled in a school named as Republic Polytechnic. So it's similar to a college in Japan. Yeah. So what I'm studying there is information technology. That's the name of my course. Yeah. And I also we get to choose our own special modules, which in this case, I think the three of us, excluding Darren, we take part in this special module named for artificial intelligence.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. And how long have you been studying at the Polytechnic in Singapore?
In this Polytechnic, I have been studying for 3 years now. Most students study for 3 years. So we have year 1, year 2, year 3, then we graduate.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So this is your final year. And part of your final year is doing this type of internship.
Yeah. It's I think I heard someone say it just now, but all students must do an internship in their Polytechnic year 3. And then they can graduate.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a requirement. Okay, and so why did you decide then to come to Japan? Because you could have chosen other places to go, right?
Technically speaking, we weren't given many choices.
Okay.
There was only another country which, to my knowledge, is Vietnam.
Vietnam.
But for our case, for the three of us, probably the four of us, we chose Japan, and we were given it to come to this country, and also to get a place to come to do an overseas internship is very rare. It's to my knowledge, for Japan alone, we only have 8 students doing internship, and also 8 students in Vietnam. So technically speaking, I feel that doing an internship in Japan is also a very rare opportunity. So that's why we selected to come Japan.
I see. So yeah, it sounds like there's not a lot of choice, and not many students can actually do it. So it seems you're quite lucky to be able to come here.
Yeah, I think the most important factor was your skills.
I see.
Yeah. And then, of course, your grades.
Right. Yeah. You have to have the grades to be able to do it. Okay. So now that you're here in Japan, can you tell me, like, what you do every day? Kind of like, what's your schedule here?
My daily schedule, me and Saran actually has the same schedule because we are both under the same professor.
Okay.
So on a daily basis, we get up at around 9. Then we prepare to go to the laboratory, and then around before 10, we will make our way to the laboratory, and then we will do our work until 12. And that's when we have lunch break, 12 to 1.
Right.
Yeah. Then from 1 to 4, we'll continue back with our work, which is, in this case, we do our IT work, which contributes to their researchers. And after 4, we are done. Yeah, for a daily basis.
I see. And then, when you're done your work here, then you have kind of free time, I imagine. So what do you like to do in the free time?
Because we are not very used to Japan lifestyle, and truthfully speaking, in Nagano, around the Kosen, there's nothing to do. So,
it's kind of in the country, yeah.
Yeah, and we have no car, and we don't have insurance for car as well, so we can't travel nearby. I mean, like further than nearby, a little further. So we just stay in our dorm. So usually what we are now currently doing is either exercising, because we bought exercise equipment.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And if not, we use our laptop. I think each of us brought a very, very strong laptop so that you can, for example, game, watch shows, etc. Yeah.
I see. So it's kind of like a dorm time. So basically you're saying that you have to kind of walk to anywhere, but it's a long walk to go somewhere. Yeah.
I think most students know, but for example, just to go to Uniqlo.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 50-minute walk.
Yeah, up the hill. Okay. So what do you think is the best thing about living and studying in Japan for you?
The best thing has to be related to studying, or
Well, just whatever you find the best thing.
I think one of the best things in Japan is their food, because this is Japan, so when we have Japanese food in Singapore, it's not as fresh and flavorful as compared to Japan. And also, in Japan, it's really, really cheap. So, for example, if you eat a sushi, it's like $1 here. In Singapore, it's going to be 3 times the price. Yeah. And it's not going to be as good as well. So, I think food is one of the best factors in Japan.
Yeah, I think that, food is something that, everyone, has to, every day, people are eating food. And so if you can go to a country and eat the local food, it's generally the best in that place, right? So even when I went to Singapore, I really enjoyed the food there. But of course, yes, if you eat Japanese food in Singapore, it's probably more expensive and not as good as if you eat it here. So you should definitely take advantage of that. Yeah. How about the worst thing? What do you think is bad about living or studying here? Or what has been difficult for you?
One thing for sure is both studying and generally speaking, we have this problem, which is the language barrier. Yeah. So as you can tell, the four of us that came to Japan, we do not know how to speak Japanese. I think mainly we could have potentially learned the basics, but we were not given the time, as prior to coming to Japan, we were having competitions for our school. So we were representing our school and taking part in competitions. So our liaison officer, which is the one that's managing us for this internship, didn't give us time at all to study Japanese. So
I see. So you didn't get the proper preparation in language study before you came. Yeah.
So when we come here, well, mainly the only way for us to communicate is when the Japanese speak English to us. Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, well, that's pretty tough too, because I think it's difficult for them as well. And I hope that you can learn a lot of Japanese while you're here. I know it's a short stay, but I remember when I first came to Japan, I couldn't speak any Japanese. And it took me about 6 months, I think, when I could start having a full conversation. So I know you are here for 4 months, is that right?
Cool.
Yeah. So probably you'll just start to be able to talk, and then you'll have to go home. But I hope you can do that you can at least pick up some language before you go. And do you have any plans to come back in the future?
Probably, because my family really likes Japan, and I also have a younger sister, currently 7. So my family has this habit of every December, which is the holiday period, where we will go overseas.
Okay.
So there's actually once where we came to Japan once or twice already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we most likely will come again because my family wants to, spoil my younger sister.
Right.
So we will often go overseas every winter.
Oh, well, that's nice for her, and it's good if you get to come along, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So after you finish the study abroad program, what are you planning to do?
Oh, back in Singapore.
Yeah.
So back in Singapore, we actually do not have a choice right after this internship. We will have a short break to, I will most likely be just resting and doing my own free things, such as maybe hanging out with friends, maybe. Because after that 3 months, perhaps, we will have to go serve military. And in Singapore, it is compulsory to serve military as long as you are a man.
Right. And that's for how many years?
So I will have to do military for 2 years.
2 years.
And based on what I heard, we will have very little free time, and we will more often be staying at the military base instead of home.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, and then after those 2 years, what do you plan to do?
After those 2 years, I plan to continue with my studies and probably get into a local university. To be honest, I actually had a plan, which was to work under the military and have them pay for my university while I study at university. However, I faced an issue where I couldn't take part in the test because I was having a competition.
Oh, no.
So I will have to check with them and see what I can do when I return to Singapore.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you can do that. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. My last question is just about studying languages. So if this podcast is for language studiers. So if you have any advice about studying a foreign language, what would that advice be?
Studying a foreign language. I think because in Singapore, we have to learn 2 languages. So currently, we have our first language is English. And then we have our mother tongue. And to my knowledge, you can actually choose your mother tongue at a young age. So for me, my family chose Chinese, which is the most popular in Singapore. Even Saran learns Chinese instead of Indian. Yeah. So, to be honest, we're actually not very good in Chinese. I think it's quite similar to Japanese in English. So probably we fare around the same grades, etc. And I think one thing that can be done is to, instead of just them learning how to write and read is to have oral and probably like reading aloud.
Mm-hmm.
So because in Singapore we have this for our mother tongue and of course our main language, so we will also have tests on speaking and maybe reading words out loud, and you get graded for it. So I think all foreign languages should have this kind of things so that you can, I think, learn quicker these languages.
Yeah, I think reading out loud makes you kind of, if you have to keep, pronouncing the words and reading the words, what happens is it starts to become easier. So you don't trip over that pronunciation or you don't make mistakes because you've practiced it so many times. So that sounds like a very good idea to help with pronunciation. Yeah. Okay, well, Brian, thank you very much for joining me today. I know that you're very busy with your research and your studies, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so here are the comprehension questions for today's interview. Number 1. What is Brian studying in Singapore? Number 2. How long has he been studying at Republic Polytechnic? Number 3. What other country could Brian choose from to do his international internship? Number 4. When is Brian's lunch break? Number 5. What type of equipment did Brian buy to use in his dormitory? Number 6. What store is a 50-minute walk away? Number 7. What does Brian think is the best thing about studying in Japan? Number 8. What was Brian doing in Singapore that stopped him from studying Japanese? Number 9. How old is Brian's sister? Number 10. What mother tongue did Brian's family choose for him when he was young? Okay, well, I'll see you again next time on Easy English Interviews in interview number 3 for season 2. Also, don't forget to share this with your friends or relatives. Don't forget that you can buy the textbook for season 1 on Amazon anywhere in the world. Just search for Easy English Interviews. All right, bye for now.